What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network, joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein. We got Dennis Clausen, and this time, special guest Alex Burns. He is a fantasy hoops writer for RotoBaller and covers the Miami Heat for The Lead. What's going on, Alex?
What is up, fellas? Man, I gotta say, there's two teams in the NBA Finals, but there is so much to talk about. There's never a bad time to talk about hoops. So excited to be here.
We're excited to have you here. What's up, Dennis? What's going on with you?
I can't come up with an opening statement better than that. Better be careful. This guy's gonna take my job.
Hey, man, it's because you got that Nets backdrop. That's why.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the looks.
Yeah.
I mean, that could go either way.
No, that's what Mike does.
Oh, yeah, true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
He goes either way. You know what I mean?
Can I say real quick? I don't know if we have obviously if you guys have a scheduled time session or not, but I just have to take a second. I got to give Dennis his flowers for something, and he probably has no clue what I'm going to say. But Dennis writes with me over at RotoBaller, and I got to say, heading into the fantasy season, the season that just wrapped up, the team, we were in a group chat, and we were given our rankings for the upcoming season. And I remember Dennis had Scotty Barnes so high in his rankings, and I mean the entire team clowned him for it. We were in the group chat, we're like, what are you doing? I have to say I was one of them. I thought Scotty was ranked a little high. Do you remember where you had him?
I think 69.
Where was that?
69, my favorite number.
69? That was crazy to us. And, man, you made all of us look stupid. So hats off to you. Got to give you your flowers for that. Rookie of the Year, Scotty Barnes.
Well, thank you. I mean, as much as I want to, take credit and talk about what a genius I am, there were guys I probably ranked that shouldn't have been ranked where they were ranked. So, I'm not that smart. I am very intelligent. I'm just,
If that's the case, what was, for both of you, what was your most incorrect person ranked?
Oh, boy. Man, I got to think about mine for a second.
I had Jamal Murray in the top 100 because I had assumed that he would have been back a lot sooner. Well, that he would have just been back, and because there were rumblings that he was going to be back December, maybe, when the injury happened. And I'm like, well, it's not going to take Jamal Murray to get back up to, I was way wrong.
Sticking with the Nuggets, I think I was really bullish on Michael Porter Jr. I mean, it's tough to say, though, because injuries to both of them, it's not really fair. But I actually had Michael Porter Jr. ranked higher than LeBron James coming into the season.
Wow.
So, yeah, that wasn't a hot take. But.
I mean, a lot of people did have Michael Porter Jr. ranked high. I was touting him coming into the season, and I mean, if he stayed healthy, who knows what would have happened with the Nuggets. The Nuggets could easily be the best team in the Western Conference had they had Jamal Murray and Michael Porter.
Sure.
It's a good thing Mike isn't here because he would be going crazy saying how he called the Denver Nuggets being good in the first place and everything. So,
well, maybe when he decides to show up one fucking week, we'll...
That's true. That's true.
But then, what was I going to say?
I don't know.
I don't fucking know. Go ahead.
I will say, Dennis and I have been going back and forth about Scotty Barnes on here for a long time, ever since he was drafted, really. And Mike was the only one that thought, what's his name, was the Rookie of the Year from Cleveland.
Evan Mobley?
Yeah, Mobley.
Yeah. Well, my thing with Scotty Barnes entering the season, I said Bam was hurt. Bam missed a couple months after coming back from that labrum injury that he had. So he was off the floor. So then you had just Fred VanVleet. We know Toronto just relies heavily on the starting crew. So logically, when you look at a guy like Scotty Barnes, he automatically was in line to start, even if he was going to start at power forward for Pascal Siakam. OJ Anunoby can't stay healthy to save his life. So yeah, it's like what the fuck? There's no reason this guy can't go in and contribute significantly right away.
I can give you a fun fact. Did you know Scotty Barnes is actually from my hometown in West Palm Beach, Florida? So he's right in my stomping grounds. Now he's living in Canada. But to your point, though, I mean, nobody expected him to put up the peripheral stats that he did, assists, rebounds, defensive stats. I mean, he truly was a league winner in the fantasy space.
And surprisingly, he actually shot not bad. He shot decently, but he's one of those guys, like, he's a better shooter than people give him credit for. He's not like on Ben Simmons level, but he's a guy capable of doing everything. He can get his rebounds, assists, defensively. He can rack up the steals, the blocks. I mean, the guy's one of the best all-around players, and it's going to be scary that when he gets his shot actually going, he gets a consistent shot. If he develops that, Scotty Barnes could be one of the best players in the entire league. He could be in the MVP conversation easily.
I mean, I think the big thing that scared a lot of people about his shot is how ugly it is, too. His shot looks just as bad as, like, Al Horford's, but hey, if it goes in, it goes in.
That's the thing, though. I mean, does it really go in? I mean, it didn't. His inaugural season, he shot 30% on like 2.5 attempts per game. But I mean, granted, he's going to work on that this summer. There's no question, and he'll come back with a better shot
for sure. So let's jump into things. First, Tyler's back. Tyler, what's going on, man? He asked if Mike is still doing taxes. It's not tax season, but he's probably still doing some sort of taxes. We're just going to say that because he hasn't shown up in forever. So,
have you ever heard of that? You know what? I'm not even gonna.
Oh God! I knew it wasn't gonna be something great.
No, I'm not gonna go down that road. So go ahead.
All right. So first things first, we'll start off with obviously what's going on in the NBA, the NBA Finals. So Golden State takes a 3-2 lead. I finally finished rewatching that game today because I fell asleep halfway through it. But I gotta say that I am impressed with Andrew Wiggins, and at the same time, Alex, if you didn't know this about me, I'm also a Sixers fan. But
okay,
all the Sixers groups and stuff that I'm in have been going crazy, talking about, oh, we should have drafted Wiggins. And I'm like, all right, people, relax. We got Embiid in that draft. I'd much rather have Embiid. Second off, Wiggins went first. We had the third pick. So, again, take a seat, relax. But Andrew Wiggins, I mean, hey, he's finally doing everything that everyone wanted him to do and doing it on a big stage. So, I got to say, I'm impressed. What have you been thinking, Alex?
Completely agree. I mean, when I looked over the show sheet and saw we were going to talk about the Game 5 recap, I wrote down 2 words, Andrew Wiggins. I mean, 26 points, 13 rebounds. He played aggressive. I'm sure you noticed that when you rewatched the game, but every time he had the ball, he was like just downhill, bodying guys in the paint, little touch shots right at the rim. He was incredible. And I got to say, I'm super happy for him.
So here's the thing, right? Like, let me just touch on I feel like everybody the Sixers draft over the years, they always say, we should have drafted this person. So that's nothing new.
Sixers fans will always say they wanted to do something different when they never said that in the first place. That's just always a Sixers fan.
Yeah, but Philly people are a bunch of fucking miserable fucks. So that's why.
Do you know how good it was as a Heat fan to watch the Game 6 when Jimmy Butler hit the three-pointer and kind of just sealed the deal in his playoffs, and just watch that arena just start booing? I believe it's like the Wells Fargo Center, I think it is, but just boo. I'm no hate to you at all, Alex, but that was probably the highlight of my season, watching the Boo Birds come out.
I mean, honestly, as a Heat fan, I probably wouldn't be admitting that openly, to be honest with you.
Why? What?
Well,
one shot away from the NBA Finals.
All right, I'm not going to get. There's several reasons I could get into this. So
you just triggered him by saying one shot away from something with the whole Kevin Durant thing.
So you guys are tugging on Andrew Wiggins nuts. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm gonna completely say there was another player who probably people aren't even going to think of that was huge and instrumental in that game, and I'm talking about Gary Payton. So
True.
he had 3 steals, and when you watch Gary Payton play, he played on Jaylen Brown a lot of the time. If you watch, Payton was matched up with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown ended up going 5 for 18. I mean, granted, a lot of people weren't shooting well. Like all the teams weren't shooting well from deep last night, either team. So it really came down to defense on the defensive line. Turnovers, of course, I'm not going to get into that because everybody's always the first thing that everybody says is turnovers. I'm not doing that. What I will bring up is defensively how good Golden State was in Game 5. 9 steals they had, 3 of them, so a third of their steals came from Gary Payton, who played only 15 minutes off the bench. Kevon Looney got into some foul trouble, so that opened up the door for Iguodala to come in and get a little action. I mean, he's a serviceable guy, but whatever. But yeah, Gary Payton was definitely the X factor in that. Jason Tatum definitely can't take care of the ball throughout the series, and the Celtics are in trouble.
I mean, yeah, the Celtics are definitely in trouble, especially with Jason Tatum, who honestly hasn't looked that great. Yes, he's been impacting the game in other ways other than scoring, but scoring is what they need out of him, especially to win games. And from what I've seen out of Jason Tatum, I think I read a stat. I forget if it was before the last game or after the last game. It said that he was like 0 for 7 in layups in the fourth quarter of this series, and all 7 were contested. So like he's not really getting any open looks. He even on a lot of his shots, they're always at least contested with one person because Wiggins is doing a good job on defense. Gary Payton, even when he's on Tatum and he's undersized, he's still doing a good job. Klay Thompson is always going to contest. Steph Curry has even been pretty good at contesting shots in this series too. So all in all, it's just kind of like if Jason Tatum's going to keep playing this way, the Celtics are doubly as doomed as they look right now.
Alex, did you see the stat? Before Game 5 or heading into Game 5, Tatum was, I think it was like 45% from 3, and he was 28% from 2-point shots. Game 1 through 4. That's a weird line. And to your point about him not playing good, I mean, I think Boston as a whole, it'd be really hard to choose an MVP if Boston somehow pulls this out. Granted, somebody takes the lead in Game 6 and 7 if there is a Game 7, but it's weird. I mean, I thought he played better last night. He had 26 points, shot 50% from the field, but they're making it tough on him. I mean, it goes back to Andrew Wiggins. It goes back to, like Dennis said, Gary Payton Jr., and even Steph Curry, whose defense is not talked about enough as it should be, especially as of late.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like you said, it's a really weird thing that for some reason Tatum is making these shots from longer range than he is close range. And I think I also saw a stat that was like the Celtics, they called them the Celtics Big Three. It's from like StatMuse or something. It was Marcus Smart, Tatum, and Brown. When Draymond was covering them, they were shooting like 30% or lower from the field with like I think it was like 7 or 8 turnovers or something like that. And that's Draymond Green covering them. That's not even one of their bigger wing defenders or anything like that. So there's a lot of things that left to be desired by Boston.
Well, here's a big thing too. Draymond Green needs to get his foul issues in check. He's fouled out 3 times throughout the NBA Finals. He's been such a good passer for the Warriors. They need him on the floor. He's always been a great passer. He's always been a triple-double kind of guy. So they need him to remain on the floor. They got to get him he's got to slow it down a little bit. He's got to stay on the floor a little bit more. I definitely think they should see a little more Gary Payton, though. Gary Payton needs to play a lot more. And we just lost Alex.
He'll be right back.
He'll be right back. Gary Payton needs to play a little bit more. Otto Porter's been getting a start, but obviously he's still a little hobbled up, I bet, with the foot issue. So, yeah, I think it's going to be huge if Steph can get and Steph was playing like shit in Game 5. So imagine how much better the Warriors would have been had Steph made a couple more threes. But he's shot like shit throughout the series, and honestly, I'm going to go out and say I think right now the MVP of the series should be Andrew Wiggins.
I mean, I think the top two for MVP are Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins for sure.
Now, I think Steph is going to get it, but let's just put it to you this way. Like, a guy who the Warriors wouldn't be in the situation they're at. They may not have won that game if Andrew Wiggins wasn't playing as well as he did in Game 5. Hey, there he is.
I'm back.
There we go. No, I agree. But the other thing, too, is, like, with Steph Curry, it was... Well, I shouldn't say just with Steph Curry, but with the whole Golden State Warriors in this last game, it was like everything was leading up to... Like, it should have led up to Boston winning. Because they got outshot, they got out-rebounded, they had a bunch of turnovers. They also... I think it was like... Boston shot like 25, 26 free throw attempts, and the Warriors had like 13. And the Warriors still won by a good margin, too. Like, just that game alone should have been the one that the Celtics capitalized on it. And since they didn't, I don't feel good about that for them at all.
And honestly, too, in Game 5, they stormed back. They had a rough first half, but then coming into the second half, they were hot, and they were shutting down the Warriors pretty good, and until the fourth quarter, the Warriors just took right back over. So, it's probably going to be Steph Curry for MVP. He's scored more and things like that. But I think when you look at just how impactful that... I think when you look at how important Game 5 was and how impactful Andrew Wiggins was during that game, because if it wasn't for him, the Warriors may not have won because Steph Curry was really struggling in that one. And Andrew Wiggins has been a pretty solid contributor, and not just on the offensive end. He doesn't score as much as Steph Curry does, but Wiggins does a lot of other things. He does them well. He's good on the glass, and the guy's working his ass off. So even if I am high, Tyler, I still think that Wiggins does deserve some consideration. Thank you.
For sure. I mean, honestly, it's frustrating seeing a guy like Wiggins get 16 rebounds when, like, even DeAndre Jordan couldn't even get 5. So, just from a Sixers standpoint, it's really frustrating. But it's ridiculous. Alex, who did you originally have like winning the series and everything? Like, what were your original thoughts, and how did they change now?
Yeah, so I'm actually sticking with my original prediction. I had Golden State Warriors in 6. Okay. After Game 1, I was like, I'm not feeling too good about those odds, but I'm sticking with it. I think Golden State closes it out Game 6. They have home court advantage, best of 2. It's just Steph Curry, man. It's just the Warriors offense. I mean, if you talk about scheme and matchup, and, the Celtics have arguably the best defense in basketball. They're top 3 for sure. And, they switch. They play a lot of drop. They were able to just really shut out the Miami Heat for the most part in their series. They, swept Boston or Brooklyn. Sorry, Dennis. And then also, knocked out the Milwaukee Bucks. But if you think about Golden State, they don't play any of those. They're just a crazy, fast, a lot of motion. It's just a different offense than like you see in the Eastern Conference. I just thought they'd have a tough time with that. I commend Boston for some of the way they played in some of the games, coming back and not giving up. I mean, Game 1, they were dead to rights. Came back, stormed back. A lot of respect. I'm still sticking with Warriors in 6, though. I think they're the better team.
So, I mean, too, when you think of real quick, Alex, when you think of which went back to the Warriors have Steve Kerr such a good coach. I think it's definitely going to come down to coaching. He's just too smart. Has more experience at this level. When you have Mike Brown and Kenny Atkinson on your bench too as assistants for the Warriors. I mean, come on, it's over.
I mean, that's the biggest thing too between the two teams is the experience of the Warriors versus the inexperience of Boston. They've talked about it a lot, how Boston has 0 games in terms of their players of finals experience, whereas Golden State had like over 100 some. So I mean, a few of these games have definitely gone down to maturity, experience, and the fact that almost everyone on Golden State, coaching staff included, has been there before. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a big aspect in and of itself, and I think that it does get overlooked sometimes because people start talking about experience and everything, and sometimes it's overplayed, but also sometimes then it shows its head, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's what that means.
So, like, I do think, though, that this is the beginning of the end of the Warriors. I mean, Steph Curry looks older, much older than he used to. He is older than he used to be. Klay Thompson doesn't look too... I don't know if that's the injury or if it's just time is catching up to him. Draymond Green has certainly been street clothes for the longest time, and he doesn't look the best at times. So I think this is it for the Warriors in terms of they'll get this one, and then moving ahead, I don't know that they're going to be young enough and healthy enough to be able to compete moving ahead. I mean, especially if they don't keep Andrew Wiggins and, thank God they got Jordan Poole, but they need to keep Andrew Wiggins, especially because he's playing the best basketball of his career in Golden State, without a doubt.
Yep. For sure. So, with that being said, let's move away from the NBA Finals a little bit here, because we kind of touched on a few of the topics we talked about at the Finals. So, since we have Alex, we'll switch gears to the Miami Heat. One thing that Dennis, I know, wanted to talk about, because he hates James Wiseman. The Miami Heat are rumored to be interested in James Wiseman. So, the main question is, what would happen with Bam Adebayo? What would they have to trade for James Wiseman? And how would that even work? What do you think, Alex?
They could trade a pack of cigarettes for James Wiseman.
If that were the case, I'd be okay as a Heat fan taking on James Wiseman. Nothing against Wiseman at all. He's got a lot of potential. He's just battled some injuries, unfortunately. My perspective as a Heat fan, I don't want to trade for Wiseman. We all know how Pat Riley is, right? Pat Riley likes to hunt, right? It doesn't matter where your team finished. It doesn't matter what the record was. He's going to go for a big star. And I think if trading for Wiseman eliminates the prospect of us, or we use chips that we would use in a deal to get, I'm just going to throw out names like a Donovan Mitchell, a Kyrie Irving potentially, then no, I would rather not. I would rather not take Wiseman. I'd rather get the big fish, So I'd rather develop your Omer Yurtseven than have James Wiseman personally.
I mean, Yurt had some pretty good minutes whenever he did get them, so I definitely agree with that.
But Yurt's probably going to be involved. I mean, if we do make a trade, I think it's a great chance that Pat Riley says, you know what, let's just run it back with this team. I think it's going to be really hard to see Duncan Robinson on the roster next year, just with the contract and with the way he's fallen out of favor. But Yurtseven, if we do trade for a big fish, he's probably going to be involved in that trade. So, I don't see how he wouldn't be.
I mean, he would have to go. When he was filling in for Bam, when Dwayne Dedmon was out too, he was fucking playing pretty good, like pretty well. So he would be a really good asset for any team that's looking for a backup center.
I was playing him on my fantasy team when he was getting those minutes.
Yeah,
you got it. But to my point, though, they bet James Wiseman. I don't understand. Like he's played, I think, like 35 games since he's been in the league. Then he fucking got hurt. He missed the entire season last year, even though he was supposed to be back by Christmas. And then they kept pushing it back. Then they said he was going to play in the summer league. Now he's not sure if he's going to play in the summer league. So I mean, the guy's like fucking 14 years old. He should be healthy as fuck at this point. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's your prime. If you're hurt at 20 years old, I mean, you're in a lot of trouble. So here's the thing, okay? Even if James Wiseman is available for Miami, they better hope and pray that he can find his way to the roster, because after watching Bam just get butt fucked by Joel Embiid, who the fuck else did they play?
Al Horford.
No, Robert Williams. After watching Robert Williams, a injured Robert Williams, just have his way with Bam Adebayo, and how Bam Adebayo play like complete dog shit throughout the postseason. They better hope, and this is what a genius I am, Alex, because the other Alex, I don't know how to Alex, Heat Alex. So I was saying too. Did I not say move Bam to the 4, bring in Rudy Gobert? I mean, so like if you need help down there, like Bam is a 4. He's not a center. He's too small. He gets dominated by more elite centers. He's a pile of shit. He's not a number 2 option by any means.
Woo! Hot take. I think Bam Adebayo is absolutely number 2, maybe number 1, and the narrative that he gets dominated and eaten up by centers is untrue. Bam's offensive game is very raw. I'll give that to you. He's not the kind of guy right now that's going to come out and give you, I'll even say 25, right? Rebounding is superb. He's athletic. He can guard 1 through 5. He's one of the, probably count on my hand how many defenders in the NBA can guard 1 through 5 and do it really good. I think Bam, I'll just say this. If we don't have Bam on our roster, we're not going to Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. We're probably not even making it out of the second round versus Philly. I agree with you that Bam's offensive game needs to improve for sure. He's a little raw. The jump shot looks a little shaky when he pulls up from 15, 20 feet. Defensively, Bam's Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion. And I know I sound like a homer saying that. I just think versatility in today's NBA is so important. Bam is absolutely a number 2. If you listen to everything that comes out of the organization, from Pat Riley and his end-of-season press conference, we are not where we are if it's not for Bam Adebayo. And so much of our offense, like designated handoffs and pick and rolls, it's predicated on Adebayo. So I would disagree to that, but yeah.
So what do you –
I'm just like, because you looked like you were getting fired up. So go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. I love it. Let's do it.
So versatility is good at the buffet, okay? So when you want a little fried chicken, you head over to the fried chicken. You finish that off. Then you head over to the pizza stand, throw down some pizza, and then maybe around, get a piece of cheesecake, come back. Then you maybe go hit that's where it counts. However, he's not even doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is be the number 2 option for the Heat. All right. The only reason that the Miami Heat made it as far as they did is because of Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler played so well, probably the best basketball of his career. If it wasn't for Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero played fantastic in the first round before he got hurt, and then he just dipped off the radar. Kyle Lowry played like shit. Max Strus, thank God Max Strus was there, because he was a guy who's capable of being efficient defensively and things like that. Bam served zero purpose throughout the postseason. He sucked offensively, and if it wasn't for Jimmy Butler, the Heat wouldn't have even made it as far as they did. He got dominated by Robert Williams, who has one good knee, maybe, and Joel Embiid totally made him his bitch. So
I don't know. Check Joel Embiid's stats though. Check the stats.
Well,
check the shooting percentage. Check the turnovers. I wouldn't say he made him his bitch. I would say that Joel Embiid's great. Joel Embiid was actually my MVP. He's going to put up points. You're not going to stop Joel Embiid. But Joel Embiid wasn't Joel Embiid in that series though. Mainly because
his thumb was hanging off his hand. Had a fractured face.
You're the MVP.
Yeah, but for a guy who is as injured as he was, right, broken face, he had to wear that fucking mask, which isn't good for your vision. Guys have already said that when you have that mask on, it definitely plays around with your shot.
LeBron dropped 61 in a mask.
He's an idiot though. So, but and then the thumb on his shooting hand was severely eliminated. So yeah, but overall, but even if you want to make the argument that Joel wasn't as good offensively, okay, take all the defense away. You can't sit here and tell me that Bam even stepped up offensively in the postseason. Maybe he did a couple times, but overall, he was not the guy that Miami has labeled as their number 2 scoring option.
I wouldn't say he is their number 2 scoring option. I would say he has the upside to be. I think that's always been a part of his game that's been raw and needs work. I think he's been working on it. I think the main
Who's the number 2 scoring option then?
That's what we need to address for sure, and I think we'll address that this offseason. I think we needed it to be Tyler Hero. He wasn't in the regular season, 20 points a game, and he played awful. I don't know what was going on. I mean, if you go on Heat Twitter prior to the playoffs when he won 6th Man of the Year, I mean, it was a no-brainer you give him the rookie max extension. And then after we were sent home by Boston, now it's like, who are we going to use to, who are we going to trade Tyler Hero for? Get Donovan Mitchell. The fans have completely just reversed on Tyler Hero. So I give you that. Yeah, I'll give you that. And I will say, too, Bam had COVID for a couple weeks leading up to the playoffs, too. Was out for 2 weeks.
He had the version of COVID that's like the cold. It's not. He didn't have the real version.
Well, he was out of basketball for a couple of weeks. His conditioning probably wasn't there.
If you said he had the March 2020 version, okay, I'd see you there. But he had the cold.
Who knows?
But here's the thing, though. Like,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. You know how I.
No. Go ahead.
All right, but here's the thing with Heat fans. Okay, Tyler Hero averages 20 points a game. It's a 6th Man of the Year. Played throughout, missed time, but came back and played because of a groin injury. All right, he didn't play good at the first round against Atlanta. He was fantastic, but that roster, there was some points though he played really well. So there were, that roster though is structured to where Bam Adebayo is highly touted and considered the number 2. So as the number 2. You should be the number 2 in his offense too. He should be the number 2 scoring option, and he's not.
I think.
But now Tyler, well, he should be it now because this is what happens when you're not. And I don't think there's any upside unless he. I think he's too small to play center. I think if he went to the 4, he'd be better. But then you have Pat Riley talking about how doesn't address Bam, doesn't do anything, and then it's calling Tyler Hero out for his defense. Talking he needs to earn a spot in the starting lineup. That fucking guy did way more than Bam did. And you're calling him out, telling him he needs to earn a spot in the starting lineup. So, yeah, give me a break. Yeah. Have fun with Kyle Lowry.
That's a whole other conversation. Kyle Lowry's like 36, PJ Tucker's 37, Jimmy's 32.
But PJ Tucker played.
Yeah.
PJ, he was on the injury report. He had that calf injury for about 4 years. He was on the injury report. And then he had the knee irritation. But that fucking guy will not go away. He will play. He gets hurt and then comes right back into the game.
Yeah.
So at least he plays.
Yeah. I actually have a very different opinion on Tyler Hero than you do. I'm actually not in the camp of Heat fans that are saying, hey, trade him, let's get in Donovan Mitchell. I'm actually more inclined to run it back for the most part. I mean, did you watch him in the Philly series? Alex, I know you most likely watched him. I mean, they were blitzing Tyler. I mean, Doc Rivers said at halftime of game 1 that, we're going to make it impossible. We're going to make anybody else beat us besides Tyler Hero. They were blitzing him. He played really bad in rounds 2 and 3 of the playoffs.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He played well against Atlanta, and then he literally just fell off the map against Philly, and then against Boston he was hurt. So
to be fair, too, though, I mean, with Atlanta, their defense is way worse than facing the Sixers or the Celtics. Yeah. So he should be doing better against Atlanta.
And back to Pat Riley's statement about becoming a defensive stopper. I don't even know if that's here in Hero's DNA, right? I don't even know if Hero is the kind of player that can ever become a defensive stopper. Now you can become solid. I would consider Max Strus to be not a liability on defense. He's not great, right? So I think Tyler does need to improve his defense. But if the goals become a Marcus Smart or a Matisse Thybulle on defense, that's kind of goofy in my opinion.
And it's also something that like you have to address like the supporting cast for defense as well, because I mean I've seen it time and time again where plenty of good scorers, they'll still be out there, but come playoff time, the defense, if it's not that great, is always going to shine through if you don't have a good supporting cast around him. Because I mean you look at like. This is just an example, obviously, because I watched them the most, but like the Sixers when they had Bellinelli, he was out there, a great shooter for him, great scorer for him, but then the other team attacked him relentlessly every single possession, and the only reason they survived as long as they did is because they had Embiid guarding the rim. Same with even like J.J. Redick. His defense wasn't great, but you still had Embiid, you still had, at the time, Ben Simmons, you also had Thibault and everything playing defense around him that can still step up and play good help D. You have Bam, who is a good help defender, but other than that, like Jimmy Butler's covering the best offensive player on the other side because Jimmy Butler's the best defensive player. So then Tyler Hero's kind of left on an island. So at that point, you either got to get someone else around them to help with that, or Tyler Hero has to at least become an average defender.
Competent. Just a competent defender. And you saw Jason Tatum, James Harden. I mean, they were hunting Tyler Hero. And even when Duncan Robinson got a few stints, that's exactly what they did to Duncan Robinson. And they tried to do it to Strus, but Strus held his own against James Harden. And a lot of that's probably like James Harden just deteriorating before our eyes. But if Hero can get competent on defense, I think we're talking about a different situation.
For sure.
Yeah, but I would give Strus more credit than people give him.
He's solid.
Like,
Strus was great especially for what you expected out of him.
I mean, he started throughout the entire season, and so yeah, you can't be disappointed in anything that he was doing. You got to be disappointed with Kyle Lowry first, and you got to be disappointed with Bam before you start going and targeting a guy who averaged 20 points for you during the regular season, is my point.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely could have gotten somebody better than Kyle Lowry in the first place.
Well, that was my point, though. When everybody was blowing their load when Kyle Lowry came, I said, for what? Guy can't stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, he's 36, and he also came in, according to Pat Riley, a little overweight, right? Or not
True.
like in the best.
He looks
shape.
like me out there.
I mean, it was rough. He played his best basketball, I want to say a month or two before the playoffs started. He was healthy. He was rolling. He didn't look good. He deteriorated, so to say.
I mean,
yeah, but
especially when you're undersized and 36, it's pretty hard to look that great.
And he's crafty, right? So he can
for sure
figure out a way to draw, take the charge and, get under people's skin and flop, because he does flop. Probably the league leader in flops. But yeah, I mean, he's 36. He deteriorated.
Yeah, but that mentality, though, when you said he played good for like when he was healthy, that's like me saying, I lost 10 pounds, so I am efficient at losing weight, or I should be a personal trainer because what I did for 3 weeks before I fell off the wagon and started eating fucking Little Debbie snack cakes.
I mean, that's the age-old argument for everybody. I mean,
Little Debbie snack cakes?
The whole staying healthy situation. I mean,
who makes the cosmic brownies?
Little Debbie, right?
Yeah, I think it's Little Debbie.
Yeah, I fucked with those a couple last weekend.
Those were like premium value at the lunch table in like middle school.
You would sell those for crack.
Oh yeah.
And then then I was throwing down oatmeal cream pies.
Those are good.
Those are also one of
those
the
are fire.
So then my wife goes. My wife went to go put one in my daughter's lunch, and she goes, "Who ate oatmeal cream pie?" I said,
"That's gonna be me when I have a kid. When I have a kid, I'm gonna have to eat all the things that go in the lunch because I'm gonna be like, oh, take one of those for me, one for you."
Well, that's what happens when you start bringing all this kid food to the house. You're like, goldfish. Never heard of these things. And next thing you know, you eat goldfish.
Exactly.
Not like the fish, but the pretzel things.
Right. I wanted to say, so to segue from when you said being healthy, someone good when they're healthy, Anthony Davis is one of Dennis's favorite people to talk about because he's never healthy.
He sucks.
And it apparently, I guess he admitted that he hasn't even shot a basketball since April 9th. And I'm not going to lie, one of the first times in a long time I actually died laughing at a Stephen A. Smith clip was when he was talking about this, and he was like, you should be shooting trash at the trash can. You should be shooting socks into your laundry. You should be shooting everything because you're next to LeBron. You're supposed to be the even more so leader of the team because you're the young star. And when healthy, I mean, he's easily a top 10, maybe even top 5 guy in the whole league when healthy. So, I don't know. What do you think about Anthony Davis? Do you guys think the Lakers have to trade him at this point? Do you think he's ever going to get back to a healthy enough point and a good enough point to get back to a championship for the Lakers? Or is it just going to be that Mickey Mouse ring and that's about it?
I don't think he's ever going to be healthy. I don't think he's had any injuries in his career that's been traumatic, like the stretch that Klay Thompson went through a couple of years ago. But I think he's always going to get hurt. I mean, whether it's an ankle, a knee, it's actually kind of impressive if you watch the Lakers a lot and just watch how many times he falls down and winces in pain and comes out of the game. It's actually kind of impressive.
I fucking was saying that. What was I saying that? I'm like, literally his theatrics, whenever he gets hurt, is amazing. I saw him hurt his hamstring throughout the season. That one of those times where he was out for 6 weeks. So he slips. I think he tripped over himself or fell over somebody, injured his hamstring. They bring him off the court, and then he collapses in the tunnel. And I'm like, this guy, man, you got to question his toughness. I don't think he gets hurt as much as he does. I honestly, and that's where I have a problem with. I'm not going to get as fired up like I did with the Heat because I can barely formulate a sentence. I get so fucking pissed off when I'm talking about the Heat. But they go after Russell Wilson. What Russell Wilson? I'm on football right now. Russell Westbrook. They target Russell Westbrook, but yet you got AD he barely plays half the season.
And
so.
As a player, why would you even admit that you haven't shot a basketball since then?
I was gonna say that. That's
lie about it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like those guys on My 600-Pound Life when they say, the doctor now's like, you need to lose weight, you're too fat, and the guy's like, they're like, what have you been eating? I told you 100 calories a day, and the fat guy's like, I didn't eat anything. I didn't follow the diet like I said.
Dude, you sounded just like that doctor. I don't even know what his name is. You sound just like him.
Dr. Dell.
That's an A1 impersonation.
Thank you. But that's these guys are crushing cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
Right. But that's like coming in to Dr. Now, but Dr. Now, okay. Before you weigh me, I just want to say, I've been at Wendy's and crushing Frosties and everything.
It's like you're going to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, see, when you step on a scale, he's gonna go, what the fuck,
at least James Harden is just like, yeah, I was at the club last night. Because he knows there's probably going to be a video come out of him at the club.
Yeah. And that's something that you can't prove, right? If Anthony Davis said that he shot, 1,000 shots a day, no one's going to discount that. I mean, you would believe it, right? Until you have a reason not to believe it. Until he, plays like dog shit and gets hurt again.
True. I mean, I went to the Sixers-Lakers game here in Philly last season, and LeBron sat out because of knee irritation or whatever the hell it was. And then, so Anthony Davis actually played. I was surprised. I went into the game thinking I would see LeBron and no Anthony Davis, and I got the opposite. But Anthony Davis even had a good game. The Sixers still won, but Anthony Davis had 35 points, whatever. But literally there was almost every time there was either a TV timeout or a Lakers timeout, it was because he was holding his knee or holding his ankle or holding his shoulder. And I'm like, do they give the Lakers like 3 extra timeouts when Anthony Davis plays just because they know he's gonna get hurt that often, or what? Like you said, it is impressive. I've never seen anybody else do that.
Genie Bus is calling the league up. Quick commercial.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. And I mean, to your point, I mean, like, I don't know what an average Hooper's schedule is like during the offseason, but I find it hard to believe that a good amount of players don't, like, take off until April to shoot a basketball. If that's what he said, or what does he say he shoots basketball?
He said he hasn't shot a basketball since April.
Since 9th. April. What? Yeah. I mean, like, that just makes no sense at all. I mean, and he had an excuse for it. I don't know if you guys saw it. He said, oh, well, I've had that training regimen my entire career, but he does, like, body work and, you know, physique stuff. And then,
well, obviously, it's not working.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, clearly it's not working now. Otherwise, you could have a healthy, you'd be able to not wince 15 times per minute in the NBA.
I mean, LeBron.
But even like, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, obviously, the offseason's not that vigorous when you have a picture of fucking LeBron, Chris Paul, Carmelo on a banana boat. So.
I was wondering where you're going with that one.
Yeah, obviously, and LeBron was like, please, let this season be over so I can get to Mexico as fast as possible.
I mean, for God's sakes, LeBron's hooping on Instagram Live with his sons outside of his house. You know, like, that's shooting a basketball. It's not serious, but, like, Anthony Davis hasn't done that since April.
Of all things, Joe Johnson is still playing basketball, like, every single day.
J. Cole is playing basketball.
Exactly. I mean, like, and on top of that, Joe Johnson is, like, doing yoga and all these things for his body. And Joe Johnson is, like, what feels like twice the age of Anthony Davis. And I don't think I've ever seen Joe Johnson get hurt. Meanwhile, Anthony Davis, I don't remember the last time he was healthy. But, yeah, I mean, all in all.
Time with the...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just, you know, how I get.
Go ahead.
The only time that inactivity argument will work is if you're an adult film star and you're like, I haven't fornicated in 2 months. Well, of course it's going to work out in your favor because you're saving up for the big payoff.
Well said.
If Johnny Holmes came in and say, hey, I haven't done anything in 2 months, I go, that's going to be a great scene.
Oh, my God. On that note, we're going to switch topics real quick here. Speaking of people who also haven't played, Zion Williamson. The big thing is the Pelicans have come out and said, I mean, he's definitely worth a max contract. A lot of people still think that he's worth a max contract, obviously, because of potential and everything. But also, I mean, victim of situation, he'll probably get a max contract from someone else if it's not the Pelicans. So, I don't know. Do you guys think he's worth it? Do you think that he'll end up actually being worth it? Or it's just not going to work out?
Absolutely. I think he's worth it. I feel like Dennis is about to completely disagree with me.
No, I'm not. I mean, if he stays healthy, great. That's the biggest question mark. I mean, at this point, though, I don't see the Pelicans losing anything by re-signing him and extending him. It's not like they got to, like, move people. I mean, their core unit is going to basically be intact. So if you're just securing Zion, and without Zion, New Orleans played pretty good this season, especially when they added C.J. McCollum. And now if you can get even 65 games out of Zion Williamson throughout the regular season, and you can, you know, if he stays healthy, if they make the postseason, then absolutely it's worth it.
I was actually talking to a buddy the other day. He doesn't really follow the NBA super close. I mean, he knows a little bit, but Zion Williamson got brought up, and he was like, he's not that good, right? Like, he hasn't, you know, played that well when he's played. And I actually went back and I looked. Zion Williamson averaged 27 points on 61% shooting at his age 20 season, which is his sophomore year. That's insane. And I mean, when you look at the pieces,
I mean, he shot like 3% from deep during that time, but that's okay.
Yeah, he had that one game. Remember his rookie year, that one game versus the Spurs? It was like one of his first games he played. Everybody was freaking out because he had like 4 threes. That was nice. That was nice.
NBA Twitter was insane that day.
Yeah. But I mean, Herb Jones, Brandon Ingram, to your point, C.J. McCollum, they got some nice pieces, to build for the future. I think it makes sense. They made the playoffs this year. Obviously got beat by the Suns, but if he can stay healthy, to Dennis's point, play 65 games, that's a huge win for New Orleans.
I would even take 58.
Yeah.
I mean, even Valanciunas being there, whether he's the backup or the starting center. And they even have a couple decent bench pieces, too. I mean, Alvarado's been looking like he's probably going to be a pretty good rotational player on top of everything. So if only Graham could find his talent again. I don't know what happened to Devontae Graham. He just literally disappeared off the face of the earth.
He shoots so bad from the field. He's so inefficient.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you saw him the 1 year in Charlotte compared to the year now in New Orleans, and it was just like night and day. It just was insane how bad he all of a sudden turned.
And a guy I think that'll be good is Trey Murphy. He played well for them too.
Murphy was also pretty good. They have some promising pieces. So, I mean, I definitely think they're going to sign Zion to a max, whether he's actually worth it or not. Because, I mean, that was your number one pick guy. When he is healthy, like you said, averaging 27 a game. I mean, he's definitely worth it.
And that's rookie max, right? So like that'd be, I want to say 180 million is the max on that.
Around there, yeah.
It was five for 186.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's like $10 Canadian. So it's fine.
Exactly. But so talking about other centers, just probably our second to last one here before we wrap up. A lot of centers are actually rumored to be on the move. You got Capella, obviously Miles Turner after they traded away Sabonis. You got DeAndre Ayton because they don't really want to sign him to the max. You got Vucevic, who, I mean, still can give you plenty of good all-around stats. And then, of course, Rudy Gobert. I mean, if you're somebody looking for a big man, there's definitely some options out there. If you guys had to rank like who you think is going to be the best one to get to the worst one to get, what would you say?
I'm interested to hear Dennis's point on this one.
Oh, well, undoubtedly, Ayton's the number one option out of that group. Maybe Gobert. Yeah, you can make the argument for either or. Both guys, though, stay relatively healthy, but then when you get to the other three, Capella, Miles Turner, and Vucevic, I love Vucevic. I love Vucevic. Great offensive player, good on the glass, good center. Totally doesn't get the credit he deserved as being one of the best centers in the league. Injuries have been a problem, though. He has issues staying healthy. So with the Bulls, as much as the Bulls with their health issues throughout the season, when you're talking about Zach LaVine can get banged up, and then if he comes back, that they can't afford somebody who's not playing. Lonzo Ball might not be ready to start the season, so you need a center who can play. If they could orchestrate a way to bring Ayton in, which probably highly unlikely, it would be the Bulls would be fantastic. But Ayton's just got to get a little bit better defensively. A little bit more consistent on the glass, but I would still rather have him just because he stays healthier than Miles Turner never fucking plays. Capella's never, and Vucevic is hurt. So, and Gobert's is getting old.
I agree with that. I think you can make the argument if you look at it. I mean, out of all the guys that we're talking about, really Vucevic and Miles Turner are really the only big men that can really actually step back and hit the three. And I won't even say at a great rate, but consistently.
True.
But I agree with you. I think Vucevic is literally the most underrated center every single year. He is in real life. He is in fantasy. But I think with Zach LaVine and rumors that he's going to re-sign with the Bulls that came out today, I could see Vucevic, staying put, running it back with that group, seeing what happens. Especially with the healthy Lonzo Ball, right? If he comes back.
For sure. I mean, if the Bulls stayed healthy in general, that could have been a very dangerous team. But obviously, it is what it is. But, yeah, I mean, for me, that list, I mean, Dennis knows this, but I'm probably one of the biggest Gobert haters there are. So, yeah, I wouldn't care to trade for him or his contract, especially because he's only getting older and his offensive game is still pretty shitty. So, I mean, yeah, he gives you a lot on defense and everything, but I don't think a lot of teams have the cap space to pay for someone who's just going to give you that one thing to really contribute to the team. And I know plenty of the advanced stats people are going to give me all the screen assist numbers and stuff like that, but all in all, he's never amounted to much when it comes down to it. I love Ayton. I mean, I really like his game. Oh, I think we lost Alex again. But I like Ayton. I really like his game. He has
the fuck kind of internet does he have? America Online?
He might.
I mean, what did he run out of minutes on his CD? You know, they give you. Remember, you used to get like free CDs. I might be aging myself.
I was not around for that era.
Well, you would go into like Blockbuster, and they would say, "Oh, here's 1,000 free minutes for America Online."
The fact you call him America Online, I always said AOL, so I think that shows the difference in age right there.
Right.
I don't even know what you're talking about, but if you just called AOL America Online, I've never heard of that in my entire life. I think when I was a kid, though, I had like a really small kid. I think I had like a KOL, like Kids Online. That's all I remember from that era.
That doesn't sound like it's some. It doesn't sound like a good site by any means.
Let's just move past that.
If the FBI's listening, I had nothing to do with this. I know nothing about Kids Online. So,
you're the one that brought all this up. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't go for Gobert. I would definitely go for a guy like I said, Ayton. I definitely would put at the number one spot too. I mean, age, potential, already skill level. I really like Ayton's game. I like Miles Turner too. I know he's injury prone and everything, but I like his defensive game on top of the fact that, like Alex said, he can at least hit the three and things like that. Like if you put a guy like Miles Turner on the Raptors, I think that gives them a whole new look, and that really helps them out. Just to give an example of a team. Capella, yeah, I mean, I would definitely put him at last in this list, even though I don't like Gobert, but Capella just kind of, he only fits in specific systems to me. And it's because he's played the same one his whole career so far. It's been with James Harden, where he's the lob guy and play some inside defense. Then he went to Atlanta, the lob guy with Trae Young, play some inside defense. But then also against the better offensive centers, he's not that great. Like, he didn't do that well against guys like Joel Embiid, for instance. He's not going to do well against... I mean, he didn't really do well against Bam Adebayo if he was even healthy enough to do so. And so, yeah, I definitely would put Capella near the end of at the end of this list. But, I mean, there's some pretty good names, and Vucevic can definitely help anybody that he goes to, no matter what team it is. I mean, he can help them tremendously.
Capella's like a 7-foot-tall Kyle Lowry. Lowry weighs probably just as much as Capella does at this point. But there's
a strong possibility.
Yeah, I think they're twin brothers, like, you know, Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, that twins.
Oh, God. I forgot about that.
That was a great movie. But there's a chance all 5 of these guys could get moved.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
July's coming. I can't wait for July. July, free agency starts in the NBA. Fucking NFL training camps open. Let's go. Let's get this shit over with. I'm sick of barbecues. I'm sick of swimming pools. I'm sick of people drinking hard seltzer. I'm ready for chili, hot dogs, fucking cold weather, isolating in my house and watching football. It's going to be great.
Some cosmic brownies. Let's do it.
I mean, you lost me with the cold weather part. I don't want any parts of that.
No, but the cold gives you an excuse to just stay inside all day.
I mean, I'll just stay inside because there's AC.
It's a good point.
You wait till you get married, pal, and then you're gonna be seeing. Oh, your mother-in-law is gonna be calling you directly and go, "You coming over?" You ain't saying no to that.
I've already said no to that before.
You got the key. I got the most wonderful mother-in-law on the planet, and whatever she says, whatever she needs, anything, I can never say no.
Makes sense.
So,
anyway, just to wrap up here for the last one, we can do this kind of quick rapid fire here. So Bradley Beal, obviously another guy rumored to be going all sorts of places. So where do you think he goes? Dennis, we'll start with you this time.
I don't care.
I mean, I remember in the beginning of the season and halfway through the season, you said he was going to end up in Boston one way or another.
I'm sticking to and actually that came to mind again, so I'm sticking with that just because his association with Tatum. So I'm sticking with that.
Okay.
I actually agree with you, Dennis. I really could care less where he ends up. If he's not going to win, I mean, that's all he preaches about, wanting to win. He's not going to win in Washington. That's just obvious. The Heat have been rumored. I don't even know if I want him on our roster, to be honest with you. It would have to be for the right price, but really, I just don't care where he goes. I mean, he's a great player, great offensively. I love watching him play. I don't think. I mean, I don't know.
But you watch though, Miami's going to get roped into a sign and trade, so Washington will sign him because they look, and then in return, Miami's or DC's Washington's going to get fucking Duncan Robinson. All this shit in return that's what's going to happen. So either Boston or Miami. Now that you said Miami, I'm thinking literally that something like this could happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be great if somehow Miami could flip Kyle Lowry into like Damian Lillard. If they got Lillard, that would push them way over the top.
We all have players that are like, they're not on your team, but they're your favorite player. You love watching them. Damian Lillard's that for me. That was a disappointing injury last year to not be able to watch him play. I'd be ecstatic if we had Damian Lillard on our roster.
If Lillard was healthy, I would be very curious to see if they would have traded him because all the rumors were around Damian Lillard. So that would have been interesting in and of itself.
For some reason, New York comes into mind too when it comes to Bradley Beal, and then I don't know why Brooklyn's. I'm surprised there hasn't been a rumor about a sign and trade between Kyrie Irving and Bradley Beal is being, you know what I mean? So
you can start that right now.
Okay, you heard it here first. My sources are telling me that there is significant traction of a potential swap between Kyrie Irving and Bradley Beal.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I agree with you guys. When it comes to Bradley Beal, so there's a Sixers podcast I listen to. They're called The Rights to Ricky Sanchez. The one guy on there, Spike Eskin, talks about how Bradley Beal has a lot of loser energy, and he's just a loser because everywhere he goes, like he talks about winning and everything, but the team he's on never wins. He had the same thoughts about James Harden. He had the same thoughts about Damian Lillard and everything like that. But I don't agree with the Dame one, but with James Harden, Bradley Beal, to me, they're losers. They're great players and everything, but when it comes to actually winning important games and winning when you need to and winning in the clutch, it just doesn't happen. And so at that rate, it's like, I really don't care. But if I had to pick, I would say in my top three of where Bradley Beal would go, I would probably say either Boston, I would say the Knicks, especially because they're just trying to really get anything. And my other team would probably be, I'd probably say someone like the Mavericks.
The Knicks are like me in high school. I'm like, I'll take what I can get at this point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just please anything. I'll take anything. So I don't even know what the fuck I was going to say. Damian Lillard, back to Damian Lillard real quick. I loved him when he was always preaching, I'm never going anywhere if I can't win a ring in Portland. And then you hear me wants, trade. I hate when guys do that stuff.
Yeah, I got you. But that is it for us, unless you guys have anything else to get off your chest.
I don't know. I think, Dennis, I think as I was thinking about our Bam Adebayo conversation, I think I can pinpoint where the hate started to come from. I think, was it last year that he hit a game winner versus the Nets at the buzzer?
I don't know, because so many teams hit a game winner against the Nets, they all just blur in. I mean, it doesn't get any worse though when you watch Spencer Dinwiddie hit a game winner against the Nets. So when you see that, I was actually glad he hit a game winner against the Nets. I was like, that serves you fuckers right for getting rid of him.
That was worse than even Mike Scott hitting it against you guys?
Yeah, everybody does. It's not like it's... So the Brooklyn Nets are complete trash.
You guys should get Jared Dudley back just because of that Jared Dudley-Ben Simmons beef they had.
Well, there's also I'm hearing Mike James rumors floating that he's looking to come back to New York. So if that happens, look out.
I mean, Durant's friends with him.
Yeah, that's where it came from because he was overseas watching him play EuroLeague.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, we will end that there. Alex, if you have anything to plug, what you got?
No, you guys can follow me on Twitter at @ABurnsHoops. You see my username right there. Just looking forward to putting out content this season for fantasy, for real life, all through the off season. Dennis and I's work will be over there at RotoBaller. Yeah, follow along. It's going to be a good one.
And he doesn't mean fantasy like 50 Shades of Grey. He means like fantasy.
That too, though. Don't tell him that.
I mean, you are kind of setting the mood, though. It's like pitch black in your room, so...
I know. I don't know why my light's not coming on. I don't know if you guys can tell. I was trying to jerry-rig it on. It wasn't working. I was like, I'm not going to get up mid-stream and try and fix it.
I mean, what's happening here? You're going to light some candles, put on Lionel Richie...
Yep.
Throw some oatmeal cream pies on the bed.
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
I feel like you're talking about different... Nah, I'm not going to go there. Anyway.
You were going to say something about cream pies, weren't you?
I mean, you set it up.
Listen,
you really set it up.
Bro, I was going to go there, but I was like, I think I've hit my quota by far of that type of material. So I was like...
You hit your quota at the kids online thing.
I was going to say, that was it. That was it for me. I was going to shut my mouth after that came out. So,
But that is it for us.
Sausage Gate?
What?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a conspiracy theory thing.
Oh, all right. I mean, that's all you. I don't know about that one. On that note.
No, Pizzagate.
Pizza. I still don't know that one.
Google it, because I had all these people going, Pizzagate's real. They're getting the kids. And I'm like, I don't want to hear about any of this stuff.
Okay,
it was like an Alex Jones thing. Yeah, look it up.
Okay. That makes sense. Sense. But anyway, in the description below, check it out. I put Alex's Twitter and his RotoBaller link down there, so make sure you check those out. Dan just commented here and said cream pie gate. On that note, thank you, everybody.
And ladies, if you're lonely, call Alex. He's waiting for you. $3.99 for the first minute.
Hey.
And then $1.99. He's in the dark. He's ready to go.
Candles are getting lined up right now.
I was going to say, we're talking about that, Alex.
We were?
Yes, we were. I have a fiance, Dennis. Damn it.
And she's lovely.
Exactly. But anyway, thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you again, Alex, for joining us for the show. We appreciate you coming on. Definitely have you back soon, especially if Miami faces the Sixers or Brooklyn again in the playoffs. Hopefully it's not as depressing on my end.
Come on, bring it on. We're ready.
Oh, I know. But thank you, everybody, for listening to the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, share it with a friend. We appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.